The bullet tore through his arm before he even heard the scream. Ryan Hayes, a warehouse worker barely making rent, threw himself in front of a stranger's child without thinking twice. That little girl in the yellow dress. She belonged to one of the most powerful women in America. And the man who pulled the trigger. He was just the beginning of something far more deadly than anyone could imagine. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because this story gets darker, more twisted, and more emotional than you can believe. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Ryan's story travels across the world. Now let's go back to the moment that changed everything. Don't you dare close your eyes on me. That's what Ryan Hayes whispered to the little girl as blood pooled beneath his arm, soaking through his cheapest jacket, the one with the frayed collar he'd bought at Goodwill 3 years ago. She was maybe 6 years old, trembling like a bird caught in a storm, her yellow dress now spotted with his blood. She stared at him like he'd fallen from the sky. He hadn't. He was just a father who knew what it felt like to lose everything, and he'd be damned if this kid lost anything today. The pain in his arm was electric, white-hot, like someone had shoved a branding iron straight through bone. But he kept his voice steady. "You're safe, kid. I got you." 20 seconds earlier, Ryan had been standing near the food court of Silver Ridge Mall on a Saturday afternoon, holding a small birthday cake he'd scraped together money for. Chocolate. Aiden's favorite. His son was turning 8 tomorrow, and Ryan had promised him something special this year. Special meant a $15 cake, and maybe if overtime came through, a used video game from the pawn shop on Fletcher Street. The mall was chaos, families everywhere, kids running wild between stores, parents shouting after them, the smell of pretzels and cinnamon rolls hanging thick in the recycled air. Ryan was just another face in the crowd. Invisible. That's how he'd lived for 3 years now, ever since Sarah died. Being invisible hurt less. Then he saw her. A little girl in a yellow dress standing alone near the center fountain, spinning in slow circles like she was looking for someone. Her face was scrunched up, worried, lost. Ryan's dad instincts fired before his brain caught up. He scanned the crowd. No parent nearby. No one even glancing her way. He took a step forward. That's when he saw the man. Tall, black hoodie pulled low, hands buried deep in his pockets, but his walk was all wrong. Too stiff, too deliberate. Eyes locked on that little girl like she was the only living thing in the entire building. Ryan's gut twisted hard. 3 years in the Marines had rewired his brain. He could read a threat the way most people read street signs, and this guy was screaming danger in a language only soldiers understood. The man's right hand started coming out of his pocket. Gun. Ryan didn't think, didn't hesitate, didn't wonder if he was wrong, or if he'd look stupid, or if anyone would even notice. He just moved. He launched across the food court, dodging a woman with a stroller, nearly tripping over someone's shopping bags left in the middle of the walkway. The man raised the weapon. Black, compact, deadly. People were starting to notice now. A woman gasped somewhere to his left. Someone yelled. But the world had gone thick and slow, like Ryan was moving underwater. He reached the girl half a heartbeat before the trigger pulled. Ryan grabbed her, twisted his body hard, and tucked her against his chest as gravity took them both down. The gunshot cracked through the air, impossibly loud, a sound that punched through everything else. Pain exploded in his left arm, brutal and instant, like someone had driven a railroad spike clean through muscle and bone. He hit the tile floor hard. His shoulder took most of it, but he kept the girl wrapped tight beneath him, shielding her with everything he had. Screaming erupted from every direction. Pure chaos. People running, scattering like startled birds. More gunshots. 2. 3. Ryan couldn't tell where they were landing. His vision blurred at the edges. The pain in his arm was monstrous, radiating down to his fingertips, crawling up toward his shoulder. The girl was crying, hyperventilating. Her little fists clutched his shirt so hard her knuckles went white. "You're safe, kid," Ryan said again, even though he had no idea if that was true. Blood was everywhere. His blood. I got you. You're okay. He forced his head up just enough to see the shooter. The man was backing toward the west exit now, firing wild shots into the ceiling. Tiles and dust rained down. Security guards were shouting, trying to close in, but they had radios and flashlights, not weapons. They were mall cops facing down someone who'd come here to kill. Every instinct Ryan had screamed at him to move, to pursue, to take this guy down before he hurt someone else. But he had a 6-year-old in his arms, and a bullet lodged somewhere in his upper arm, and getting up right now meant leaving her exposed. So he stayed down. The shooter vanished through the emergency exit. Alarms started wailing. The sound stabbed through Ryan's skull. His arm was on fire. He looked down. The hole in his jacket was small. The blood spreading around it was not. Dark. Fast. Too much. His hand started shaking. Somebody help this man. A woman's voice, frantic and close. Ryan blinked hard, trying to focus. A woman dropped to her knees beside him so fast she nearly skidded. She was beautiful, even in full-blown panic. Mid-30s dark hair, pulled back in a tight ponytail, designer suit that probably cost more than Ryan made in 2 months. Her face was sheet white, eyes wide, but there was something fierce burning behind them. Controlled terror. "Sophie!" she screamed, reaching for the little girl. The girl scrambled out from under Ryan and threw herself into the woman's arms. "Mommy! Mommy, the bad man had a gun, and this man—" "I know, baby. I know." The woman held her daughter like she'd never let go again, rocking her, kissing the top of her head over and over. Then her eyes snapped to Ryan and something in them changed, sharpened. "You're bleeding." "I'm fine," Ryan said. His voice sounded like it was coming from someone else's mouth. "You're not fine. You're shot." "Just my arm." She stared at him like he'd just spoken a foreign language, like she couldn't process what kind of person said, "just my arm," when there was a bullet hole leaking blood all over the mall floor. "Why?" she whispered. The word came out broken. Ryan didn't have a good answer. Or maybe he did, but it was too simple to explain to someone like her. "She's somebody's kid," he said quietly. The woman's expression cracked open for just a second. Then she yanked it back together, jaw going tight. She turned and shouted over her shoulder, "Marcus, get over here now." A man in a black suit materialized out of the chaos like he'd been waiting in the wings. Big. Built like he could flip cars. A scar ran down the left side of his jaw, old and pale. He took one look at Ryan on the ground, and his hand went straight to his waistband. "Stand down," the woman snapped. "He saved her." Marcus didn't look convinced. His eyes stayed locked on Ryan, scanning him top to bottom like he was running threat assessment software in his head. But he didn't pull a weapon. He crouched down next to Ryan instead, close enough that Ryan could smell his cologne. "Expensive. Ambulance is 3 minutes out, Ms. Bennett," Marcus said. Ms. Bennett. The name hit Ryan somewhere in the back of his brain. Familiar. Important. But everything was getting fuzzy around the edges. "What's your name?" the woman asked. Her hand landed on Ryan's good shoulder. Firm. Grounding. "Ryan. Ryan Hayes." "Ryan, I'm Victoria Bennett. You just saved my daughter's life." He wanted to say something humble, something that would deflect this whole situation away from him. But his tongue felt thick. The world was starting to tilt sideways. "Don't you dare close your eyes on me," Victoria said, and her voice went sharp. Commanding. So he didn't. He locked his eyes on hers and held on. Paramedics flooded in. Someone was cutting his jacket off. Cold air hit his skin. An oxygen mask appeared over his face. Voices overlapped medical jargon he didn't understand. He heard Victoria talking to the police, her tone clipped and precise, every word a scalpel. She wasn't asking. She was giving orders, and people were listening. The last thing Ryan saw before they loaded him onto the stretcher was Sophie, still in her yellow dress, peeking out from behind her mother's legs. She was holding a stuffed rabbit, clutching it like a lifeline. Her eyes found his across the chaos. She waved. Ryan tried to smile. Then everything went black. When he woke up, the first thing he noticed was silence. Real silence, the kind that only exists in expensive places. The second thing he noticed was the bed. Soft. Too soft. The third thing was the IV drip in his left hand, and the heavy wrap around his right arm, tight and professional. He was in a hospital room that looked nothing like any hospital room he'd ever seen. Private, clean. Windows overlooking the city. Paintings on the wall, actual paintings, not generic prints of flowers. A nurse walked in, saw he was awake, and smiled like she'd been expecting him. "Welcome back, Mr. Hayes. You've been out for about 4 hours. How are you feeling?" "Where am I?" "St. Catherine's Medical Center, private wing." "Private." Ryan's stomach dropped straight through the floor. He couldn't afford this place. He couldn't afford the parking lot of this place. "I need to leave," he said, already trying to sit up. "I wouldn't recommend that." The nurse moved to his side gently, but firmly guiding him back down. "You lost a significant amount of blood and the bullet fractured your humerus. You're going to need physical therapy and follow-up care." "I can't pay for this." Her smile went softer, pitying. "It's already taken care of." "By who?" "Ms. Bennett covered everything. Surgery, medication, recovery, physical therapy. She left very specific instructions that you're not to worry about any of it." Ryan's jaw clenched so hard his teeth hurt. He didn't want charity. Didn't want to owe anyone, especially not someone who lived in a universe he'd never even touched the edges of. "She also left this." The nurse pulled a business card from her pocket and set it on the table next to his bed. Ryan picked it up with his good hand. Thick cardstock, embossed lettering. It read, "Victoria Bennett, CEO, Horizon Innovations." CEO. Of course she was. "She'd like to see you when you're feeling up to it," the nurse added. "But for now you need to rest. You're a hero, Mr. Hayes." He wasn't a hero. Heroes didn't work night shifts unloading trucks for $9 an hour. Heroes didn't water down the milk to make it last longer. Heroes didn't steal extra ketchup packets from McDonald's to make their kids' boxed mac and cheese taste like something real. Heroes didn't cry alone in the shower at 2 in the morning because they missed their dead wife so much it felt like their chest was caving in. He was just a guy who'd seen a kid in danger and done what any decent person would do. But the world didn't see it that way. By the time Ryan discharged himself 2 days later against every piece of medical advice thrown at him, his face was everywhere. Security footage from the mall had gone viral. 6 million views in 36 hours. News outlets were running the story on loop, calling him a guardian angel, an everyday hero. Proof that good people still existed. Social media exploded. Strangers were sending messages offering money, asking for interviews, wanting pieces of him he didn't have to give. Someone had started a GoFundMe without asking him. It hit $60,000 in 8 hours. Ryan hated every single second of it. He went home to his cramped 2-bedroom apartment on the east side, the kind of neighborhood where car alarms went off at night and nobody called the cops anymore. Aiden was waiting, staying with Mrs. Chen from downstairs, a 70-year-old woman who smelled like jasmine tea, and never asked for money, even though Ryan always left some on her counter. When his son saw him walk through the door, arm wrapped in a sling, face pale, Aiden's eyes went wide. Then he burst into tears. "Dad, they said you almost died." Ryan dropped to one knee, pulled the kid close with his good arm. "I'm okay, buddy. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." But Aiden wouldn't let go. He cried into Ryan's chest for 10 straight minutes, his small body shaking, and Ryan just held him, stroking his hair, whispering promises he desperately hoped he could keep. When Aiden finally pulled back, his face was red and blotchy. "Why'd you do it, Dad?" "Do what?" "Save that girl. You don't even know her." Ryan looked at his son, this 8-year-old kid who'd already lost his mother and was terrified of losing his father too. Because she's somebody's whole world, Aiden. Just like you're mine. Aiden thought about that for a long moment. Then he hugged Ryan again, gentler this time. 3 days later, someone knocked on Ryan's door. It was early. Ryan had just gotten Aiden off to school and was about to leave for his warehouse shift when the knock came. Not a polite knock. A cop knock. Sharp. Authoritative. He opened the door and found Marcus standing there, same black suit, same unreadable expression carved into his face. "Mr. Hayes. Can I help you? Ms. Bennett would like to meet with you." "I'm good, thanks." Marcus didn't even blink. It wasn't a request. Ryan's hand tightened on the doorframe. "Last I checked, I don't work for her. You saved her daughter's life. She wants to thank you properly. She already paid my hospital bill. Covered my rent for the month too, I noticed. We're even." "No," Marcus said quietly, and there was something in his tone that made the hair on Ryan's neck stand up. Not quite a threat. Close. "You're not." Ryan studied the man for a long beat. Marcus stared back completely still, like he could stand there all day if he needed to. Finally, Ryan sighed. "I've got work." "She'll make it worth your time. I don't want her money." "Then come tell her that yourself." 20 minutes later, Ryan was sitting in the back of a black SUV with windows tinted so dark he couldn't see out. Marcus drove in complete silence, navigating through parts of the city Ryan had only ever seen on TV. Glass towers. Streets so clean they looked photoshopped. People in $1,000 shoes walking dogs that probably ate better than most families in his neighborhood. Horizon Innovations headquarters rose up like a monument to success. 40 stories of steel and glass gleaming in the morning sun, reflecting clouds like it owned the sky. Ryan felt out of place before he even got out of the vehicle. The lobby was all marble and minimalism. People in expensive suits moved with purpose. Nobody looked at him twice, but Ryan felt every inch of his Goodwill jacket and scuffed work boots. Marcus led him to a private elevator. They rode up in silence. The numbers climbed. 38 floors. The doors opened directly into an office that didn't look real. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. Furniture that looked like modern art. A desk made of black marble that probably cost more than Ryan's car. And behind it, Victoria Bennett. She stood when she saw him, and for half a second, Ryan saw the woman from the mall again. Fierce, desperate, human. But here in her kingdom, she was something else entirely. Powerful, untouchable. A woman who moved markets with phone calls. "Mr. Hayes," she said. "Thank you for coming." "Didn't feel like I had much choice." Her mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Please, sit." He sat. The chair was absurdly comfortable, the kind that probably adjusted to your body temperature. Victoria sat across from him, hands folded on the desk. Perfect posture. "I wanted to thank you in person. What you did for Sophie there aren't words. I'd have done it for any kid." She stopped, studied him. Something shifted in her eyes. "I believe you would have." Silence fell between them, heavy and strange. "The hospital bill," Ryan started. "And the rent. I appreciate it, but I don't need... It's nothing. It's not nothing to me." Victoria's eyes sharpened. "Mr. Hayes, I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Covering your medical care and keeping you from being evicted is the absolute least I can do for the man who saved my daughter's life." Ryan shifted in the too comfortable chair. "I don't want your money." "Then what do you want?" The question hung there. Honestly, Ryan didn't know anymore. Peace, maybe. A life where he didn't have to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. A world where Sarah was still alive and Aiden had a mother, and Ryan wasn't so tired all the time he could barely think straight. "Nothing," he said. Victoria leaned back, studying him like he was an equation she couldn't solve. "Everyone wants something, Mr. Hayes." "Not me." "Why?" "Because wanting things is how you get hurt." Something flickered across her face, understanding maybe, or recognition, like she knew exactly what he meant. "There's something else," she said, and her tone shifted. Darker. "The man who attacked Sophie. The police haven't found him yet." Ryan's stomach tightened. "They will. Maybe." Victoria glanced at Marcus, who stepped forward. "But in the meantime, there have been complications." "What kind of complications?" Marcus pulled out a tablet, tapped the screen, slid it across the desk. Ryan looked down at surveillance photos. Time stamped. High quality. "2 days ago," Marcus said, "someone attempted to breach our main server farm. They failed, but they got further than anyone should have. Yesterday morning, there was an attempted vehicle intercept 3 blocks from Ms. Bennett's residence. 2 men. Professional. They broke off when they spotted our counter-surveillance team." He swiped to another image. "And this morning we found this." The photo showed a small black device, no bigger than a quarter, attached to the underside of a conference room table. "Listening device," Marcus continued. "Military grade. We found 3 more just like it. 1 in Ms. Bennett's car, 1 in her home office, 1 outside Sophie's school." Ryan's blood went cold. "You think it's connected to the shooting?" "We don't believe in coincidences," Victoria said quietly. Ryan looked between them. "Why are you telling me this?" Victoria's gaze didn't waver. "Because you saw that gunman before anyone else did. You moved before anyone else could. You have instincts my entire security team missed." She paused. "I need someone like that." "You have security, a whole team from what I can see." "I have employees," Victoria corrected. "Well-trained, well-paid, but still employees. You're something different." Ryan stood up. "I'm a warehouse worker, Ms. Bennett. I unload trucks. I'm not a bodyguard. You were a Marine." He froze. 3 tours. Victoria continued, and Ryan realized she'd done her homework. Deep homework. Decorated twice. Expert marksman. Tactical operations specialist. You left the service after your wife passed away from cancer. Started working nights so you could raise your son alone. She paused. "You're exactly what I need." Ryan's jaw worked. "I'm not for sale. I'm not trying to buy you. I'm asking for your help." "Why should I help you?" Victoria stood, walked to the window, stared out at the city sprawled below like a chessboard. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter, smaller, vulnerable in a way that didn't match the office or the title or the empire. "Because whoever's doing this won't stop until they get what they want. And the next bullet might not hit you. It might hit Sophie." She turned back to face him. "I can't let that happen. I won't." Ryan watched her, really watched her. Beneath the designer suit and the CEO armor and the carefully controlled expression, she was just a mother, scared, desperate, trying to protect her child from something she couldn't see coming. He knew that feeling better than anyone. "1 week," he heard himself say. "I'll look into it, ask some questions, see what I can find, but I'm not making any promises." Relief washed across Victoria's face there and gone in a heartbeat. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet." As Marcus escorted him back to the elevator, Ryan caught his reflection in the polished walls. He looked tired, out of place, like a man who'd stumbled into the wrong story. But as the elevator doors closed and the floor dropped away beneath him, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just agreed to something far bigger than he understood. Outside, as he walked toward the street to catch a bus back to his neighborhood, Ryan noticed a black sedan parked across the street. Tinted windows, engine running. He'd seen that same car yesterday outside his apartment, and the day before that near Aiden's school. His Marine instincts flared hot. Someone was watching him. Ryan kept walking, didn't look directly at the car, but cataloged everything. Make, model, license plate partially obscured by a strategically placed bumper sticker. 2 occupants in the front seats. He turned the corner, pulled out his phone, and texted Marcus the plate number. The reply came back 90 seconds later. Plate's a fake. Running facial recognition on the occupants now. Stay alert. Ryan looked up at the Horizon building, 40 stories of glass catching the afternoon sun. 1 week, he'd said. Deep down, he knew 1 week wouldn't even scratch the surface. Whatever Victoria Bennett had walked into it had teeth. And now, so did Ryan. The black sedan followed Ryan for 3 more days. He didn't tell Aiden, didn't tell Mrs. Chen, didn't even acknowledge it directly. But every time he left the apartment, every time he walked Aiden to school or caught the bus to his warehouse shift, that car was there. Different drivers, same cold surveillance. They weren't even trying to hide anymore. On the 4th day, Ryan changed his route. He left work early, told his supervisor he had a doctor's appointment, and took a cab straight to Horizon. Marcus was waiting in the lobby when he arrived like he'd been expecting him. "They're getting bolder," Ryan said without preamble. Marcus nodded. "We noticed. 3 different vehicles now. Rotating teams. Professional-grade surveillance. You get anything on the facial recognition? Dead ends, fake IDs, burner phones, rental cars paid in cash. Whoever's running this operation knows how to stay invisible." Ryan followed Marcus into the elevator. This time they went to the 40th floor. The doors opened into something that looked less like an office and more like a command center. Screens covered one entire wall displaying security feeds from dozens of locations. 3 people worked at computer stations, headsets on fingers flying across keyboards. Victoria stood in the center of it all, arms crossed, staring at the screens like she could force them to give up their secrets through sheer willpower. She turned when she heard them enter. "Mr. Hayes, thank you for coming back." "Someone's watching my kid," Ryan said flatly. "So yeah, I'm back." Something shifted in Victoria's expression. Respect, maybe. "Show him." One of the analysts, a young woman with bright purple hair, pulled up a series of images on the main screen. "We've identified 6 separate surveillance operations targeting you, Mr. Hayes. Your apartment, your son's school, your workplace, even the grocery store you use on Wednesdays." "Wednesdays," Ryan repeated. "You're tracking my grocery runs." "We're tracking everyone tracking you," Marcus said. "And it's not just you, Ms. Bennett's residence, her office, Sophie's private school, even her parents' home upstate. Someone's building a complete profile on both of you." Victoria moved closer to the screens. 2 days ago, we found evidence of a planned intrusion at our primary data facility. Yesterday, one of our senior engineers received a death threat. This morning, Sophie's school went into lockdown because someone called in a bomb threat. Ryan's hands curled into fists. Was it real? No, but it kept Sophie trapped in a classroom for 2 hours while bomb dogs searched the building. She was terrified. Victoria's voice cracked just slightly on that last word. "Whoever's doing this wants us afraid, wants us making mistakes." "Or they're probing your defenses," Ryan said. "Testing response times, looking for gaps." Marcus nodded. "That's our assessment too." The purple-haired analyst pulled up another screen. "We've also been monitoring dark web chatter. 3 separate forums mention Horizon innovations in the last week. Someone's asking very specific questions about our encryption technology." "What kind of questions?" Ryan asked. "Technical specifications, security protocols, the names of people with access to our quantum computing division." She hesitated. "And they're offering money. A lot of it. $500,000 for actionable intelligence." Ryan whistled low. "That's not amateur hour." "No," Victoria said quietly. "It's not." She walked to the window, stared out at the city. Ryan noticed how rigid her shoulders were, how tightly she held herself together. This woman was used to controlling everything, and now everything was spinning out of reach. "There's something else," she said without turning around. "The gunman from the mall. Police found his body yesterday, floating in the river. 2 bullets in the back of the head. Execution style." The room went very quiet. Someone cleaned house, Marcus said. Ryan's mind raced. He was expendable. Whoever hired him didn't want him talking. Which means this goes deeper than a random attack. Victoria turned back to face them. Someone wants something from me, something specific, and they're willing to kill to get it. What do you have that's worth dying for? Ryan asked. Victoria and Marcus exchanged a look. Some silent conversation Ryan wasn't part of. Finally, Victoria spoke. Come with me. She led Ryan deeper into the building through corridors that required 3 separate security checkpoints, each one more sophisticated than the last. Retinal scanners, fingerprint verification, voice recognition. By the time they reached the final door, Ryan felt like they'd walked into a completely different world. The room beyond was small. No windows. Climate-controlled. In the center sat a single computer terminal isolated from every network, surrounded by more security hardware than Ryan had seen outside a military installation. This is our quantum encryption project, Victoria said. 3 years of research, billions in development costs. It's technology that would make current encryption obsolete. Unbreakable communication, unhackable systems. Ryan looked at the terminal. And someone wants to steal it. Or destroy it, or use it themselves. We're not sure yet. Victoria's hand hovered over the keyboard, but didn't touch it. Only 4 people have access to this room. Me, our chief technology officer, our head of security, and 1 senior engineer. That's it. Marcus, Ryan asked. I'm head of personal security, Marcus said from the doorway. Not corporate. Different clearance. Ryan turned that over in his mind. You think it's an inside job? I don't know what to think anymore, Victoria admitted. I've trusted these people for years, built this company with them. But someone's leaking information. Someone knew exactly when Sophie would be at that mall. Someone knew which car I'd be in yesterday. Someone knows things they shouldn't. Have you considered shutting down the project? Ryan asked. If that's what they're after, remove the target. Victoria's jaw set. I've spent 3 years of my life on this. So have hundreds of my employees. I'm not handing it over to whoever's threatening us. Even if it costs you your daughter. The words came out harsher than Ryan intended, but they needed to be said. Victoria flinched like he'd slapped her. That's not fair, she said quietly. Fair doesn't matter. Safe does. They stared at each other across the small room. 2 parents. 2 completely different worlds. Same desperate fear. I can protect Sophie, and protect this project, Victoria said. I just need time. Time's not something you've got, Ryan said. Whoever's running this operation is escalating. First surveillance, then threats, now murder. They're building towards something. Then help me figure out what. Ryan ran his good hand through his hair. His bad arm still ached, a constant reminder of how quickly things could go wrong. I'm not a detective. I'm not even a security consultant. I'm just a guy who got lucky at a mall. You're a Marine who saved my daughter's life, Victoria said firmly. And right now, you're the only person I trust completely. That stopped Ryan cold. Trust. From a woman who commanded an empire, who had teams of professionals at her disposal, who could hire anyone in the world. And she trusted him. A warehouse worker with a high school diploma and 3 years of military service that felt like a lifetime ago. Why? He asked. Because you didn't want anything from me. Everyone else wants something. Money, access, favors, connections. You just wanted to go home to your son. Victoria's eyes met his. That's the kind of person I need right now. Ryan thought about Aiden, about the black sedan parked outside their apartment, about the fact that his 8-year-old son was now caught in the crossfire of something neither of them understood. Okay, he said, but we do this my way. Which is, we assume everyone's compromised. We trust no one except the 3 of us in this room. And we start looking at your inner circle like they're the enemy until we prove otherwise. Victoria's face went pale. These are my friends, my colleagues. And one of them might be trying to destroy you. Marcus stepped forward. He's right. We've been too cautious, too polite. Time to get aggressive. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. What do you need? Access, Ryan said. To everything. Personnel files, security logs, financial records, phone records, emails. If someone's dirty, they left tracks. That's a violation of privacy, Victoria said. So is planting listening devices in your office, Ryan shot back. Your choice. She made it in about 2 seconds. Done. I'll have everything transferred to a secure partition. Eyes only for the 3 of us. Over the next 72 hours, Ryan barely slept. He set up shop in a small conference room Marcus cleared for him, surrounded by monitors and files, and enough coffee to kill a smaller man. Victoria gave him complete access to Horizon's systems, and what he found made his blood run cold. The leaks had been going on for months. Small things at first. Meeting notes that shouldn't have left the building. Project timelines that ended up in competitor hands. But in the last 6 weeks, the breaches had accelerated. Someone was feeding detailed information to an outside party, and they were getting paid for it. Ryan tracked the money through 3 shell corporations and 2 offshore accounts before he hit a wall. Professional grade laundering. The kind that took resources and expertise. This isn't some disgruntled employee selling secrets for beer money, he told Victoria and Marcus on day 3. This is organized, funded. Someone's running an operation. Who? Victoria demanded. Ryan pulled up a list of names on the screen. These are the only people with access to the information that's been leaked, cross-referencing their financial records, travel patterns, and communication logs. There were 7 names. Victoria's face went gray as she read them. James? She whispered. James who? Ryan asked. James Wheeler, my former partner. We started this company together 10 years ago. Victoria sank into a chair like her legs had given out. We had a falling out 3 years ago. He wanted to take the company public start, selling our technology to the highest bidder. I refused. We fought. He left. Took a severance package and signed a non-compete agreement. Marcus pulled up Wheeler's file. He's been quiet since then, running a consulting firm. Nothing remarkable. Until 6 weeks ago, Ryan said, pointing at the screen, when he started making very large deposits into a numbered account in the Cayman Islands. Deposits that coincide exactly with the security breaches. Victoria's hands were shaking. James wouldn't. We were friends. Friends change when there's money involved, Ryan said. How much would your encryption technology be worth to the right buyer? Billions, Victoria said quietly. Tens of billions. And how much did Wheeler get in his severance? 50 million. Ryan let that hang in the air. So he's motivated. But the attack on Sophie, Victoria said. James loves Sophie. He's her godfather. He wouldn't hurt her. Maybe he didn't mean to, Marcus said. Maybe the shooter was just supposed to grab her. Leverage. Force you to hand over the technology. But Hayes here got in the way, and the situation went sideways. Ryan thought about that. The shooter wasn't trying to kill her. He was aiming center mass on me because I was the threat. If he'd wanted Sophie dead, he'd have shot her first. Victoria put her head in her hands. This can't be happening. We need proof, Marcus said. Wheeler's smart. He'll have covered his tracks. Then we make him slip up, Ryan said. We give him something he can't resist. Victoria looked up. What? Bait. 48 hours later, Ryan was standing in the shadows of a parking garage downtown, watching a silver Mercedes pull into a reserved spot on the 3rd level. James Wheeler stepped out, checking his phone, looking exactly like what he was. Wealthy, confident, untouchable. Ryan had spent 2 days studying this man. Divorced twice. No kids. A taste for expensive watches and cheaper women. A gambling problem he thought he'd hidden. Debts that had piled up faster than his severance package could cover. Wheeler walked toward the elevator and Ryan stepped out of the shadows. "Mr. Wheeler." The man's spun hand going to his jacket pocket. Ryan raised his hand slowly. "Easy, I'm not here to hurt you." Wheeler's eyes narrowed. "Do I know you?" "Ryan Hayes. I'm the guy who took a bullet for Victoria Bennett's daughter." Recognition flickered across Wheeler's face, then calculation. "The hero from the mall. I saw you on the news. Can we talk?" "About what?" "About a business opportunity." Wheeler studied him for a long moment. Then he smiled, and it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm listening." Ryan pulled out a flash drive. "Victoria's getting paranoid, tightening security, limiting access. But she trusts me, gave me clearance to her quantum project." "Why would she do that?" "Because I saved her kid, because I'm not part of her corporate world, because she thinks I'm too dumb to understand what I'm looking at." Ryan held up the drive. "I understand just fine, and I know what it's worth." Wheeler's smile widened. "How much?" $5 million. Untraceable. Offshore account. "I give you this. You give me the money, we never see each other again." "How do I know it's real?" "Because I'm risking everything to be here. Because Victoria would destroy me if she found out. Because I'm a single dad who's tired of being broke." Ryan's voice was flat, convincing. He'd practiced this in the mirror for hours. "I saw what you have, Wheeler. The cars, the watches, the life. I want that. And this is my only shot." Wheeler was quiet, thinking, calculating odds. Finally he said, "Let me see it." Ryan tossed him the drive. Wheeler pulled out a laptop from his car, plugged it in. His eyes went wide as he scanned the files. "This is real," he breathed. $5 million, Ryan repeated. "Today. I'll need to make some calls." "You've got 2 hours, then I'm walking." Wheeler looked at him. "How do I contact you?" Ryan had written a burner number on a piece of paper. He handed it over. 2 hours. Then he turned and walked away, feeling Wheeler's eyes on his back the whole time. He made it to the street before Marcus pulled up in the SUV. Ryan climbed in, and they drove 3 blocks before anyone spoke. "He bought it?" Marcus asked. "Hook, line, and sinker," Ryan said. "He'll make the call within 30 minutes. And we'll be listening." Victoria's voice came through the car's speakers. She was back at Horizon monitoring everything. "Good work, Mr. Hayes." Ryan leaned back against the seat, adrenaline still singing through his veins. "Now we wait." They didn't have to wait long. 22 minutes later, Wheeler made his call. The analysts at Horizon intercepted it, routed it through 3 different systems, and traced it back to a secure line in Washington, D.C. When they identified who was on the other end, Victoria's face went sheet white. "No," she whispered. Because it wasn't just James Wheeler trying to steal her technology. It was Dominic, her head of corporate security, the man she'd trusted for 8 years, the man who had access to everything. "He's been working with Wheeler from the beginning," Marcus said, staring at the transcripts. "Wheeler's the money man. Dominic's the inside source." Ryan watched Victoria's world collapse in real time. 2 men she'd trusted. 2 men she'd considered family. Both of them willing to sell her out for money. "We need to move now," Ryan said. "Before they realize it's a trap." Victoria's hands curled into fists. "What do you need?" "A location. Somewhere they'll feel safe. Somewhere we can control." She thought for exactly 3 seconds. "The charity gala. Tomorrow night. Horizon is hosting it. 500 guests. Full security presence. Dominic will be there running operations. Wheeler always attends as a major donor." "Perfect," Ryan said. "We let them think they're about to win. Let them get comfortable. Then we take them down in front of everyone." Marcus grinned. It wasn't a nice grin. "I like the way you think." Victoria looked between them. "This could go very wrong." "It could," Ryan agreed. "But right now it's the best shot we've got." She took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, became the CEO again. Then let's end this. The next evening, Ryan stood in a tuxedo he'd rented for $40, feeling like an imposter among 500 people who'd never shopped at Goodwill in their lives. The charity gala was everything he'd expected. Crystal chandeliers, orchestra music, champagne that probably cost more per bottle than his monthly rent. Victoria moved through the crowd like she owned it because she did. Designer gown, perfect smile. No one looking at her would know her entire world was about to explode. Ryan spotted Dominic across the room talking into his radio coordinating security. The man looked calm, professional, competent, like he wasn't secretly planning to rob his employer blind. Wheeler arrived 20 minutes later, shaking hands playing the successful entrepreneur. He saw Ryan and gave him the smallest nod. The trap was set. Now they just had to spring it. Ryan's earpiece crackled to life at exactly 9:15. "Wheeler's moving toward the east corridor," Marcus said from somewhere in the building. "Dominic just diverted 2 security guards away from that section." Ryan took a sip of champagne he had no intention of drinking and started walking. The crowd was thick, full of people who'd paid $10,000 a plate to eat salmon and feel charitable. Nobody noticed the man in the cheap tuxedo slipping between them. Victoria was on the main stage giving a speech about innovation and responsibility. Her voice was steady, polished, perfect. Only Ryan could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her left hand gripped the podium just a little too tight. He reached the east corridor 60 seconds after Wheeler disappeared into it. The hallway was empty, lit by soft accent lighting that cost more than most people's cars. Ryan kept his steps quiet, his breathing controlled. Old instincts kicking in. The Marine who'd cleared buildings in Fallujah was never really gone, just sleeping. Voices drifted from around the corner. Ryan pressed himself against the wall and listened. "You're sure Hayes can deliver?" That was Wheeler's voice. Confident, greedy. "I verified the files myself. Dominic. They're legitimate, complete schematics for the quantum encryption system. And Victoria has no idea. None. She thinks Hayes is her personal hero, trusts him completely." Dominic laughed low and cruel. "It's almost too easy." Ryan's jaw clenched. He forced himself to stay still. "The money's ready," Wheeler said. $5 million to Hayes. Another 10 to you once we have the technology. My buyers are already lined up. We could be looking at $200 million once this goes to auction. What about Victoria? What about her? She's going to know it was us." Wheeler's voice went cold. "By the time she figures it out, we'll be in countries without extradition treaties. Let her chase ghosts. And if she doesn't give up, if she comes after us." There was a pause. Then Wheeler said something that made Ryan's blood freeze. "Then we make sure she can't. Accidents happen, Dominic, especially to people who don't know when to quit." Ryan had heard enough. He stepped around the corner. Both men spun toward him. Wheeler's hand went to his jacket. Dominic's went to his waistband. But Ryan already had his phone out recording light blinking red. "Got all that?" Ryan said quietly. "Every word." Wheeler's face went pale. "You're supposed to be upstairs. Supposed to be a lot of things. Supposed to be dumb enough to actually sell you Victoria's life's work for $5 million. Supposed to not notice you planning to kill her." Ryan's voice was steady, but inside he was calculating distances, exits, how fast he could move if this went violent. "Guess I'm full of surprises." Dominic pulled his weapon. A Glock 19, black and deadly. "Put the phone down." "Can't do that." "Put it down or I put a bullet in you." Ryan didn't move. "You fire that gun, everyone upstairs hears it. Security floods this hallway in 30 seconds. You'll never make it out." "We'll take our chances," Wheeler said. He'd pulled his own gun, now smaller, a .380, that probably spent more time in a safe than in his hands. His grip was wrong. Amateur. But at 10 feet, amateur didn't matter much. "Marcus," Ryan said calmly into his earpiece. "I'm going to need you now." "On my way," Marcus's voice crackled back. 30 seconds. Dominic's eyes narrowed. "You're wearing a wire." "You're wearing a federal case," Ryan shot back. "Conspiracy attempted theft of proprietary technology, and you just threatened to murder a civilian. That's 20 to life even with a good lawyer." "Not if you're dead," Dominic said. He started to squeeze the trigger. The fire alarm went off. Every alarm in the building erupted at once, a deafening wail that shook the walls. Sprinklers kicked on, dumping water from the ceiling. Emergency lights started flashing. And in the chaos, Ryan moved. He dove left as Dominic fired. The shot went wide, punching into the wall where Ryan's chest had been half a second ago. Ryan hit the ground, rolled, came up behind a marble pillar. Water poured down around him, soaking his rented tuxedo. More gunshots. 3, 4. Marble chips exploded near Ryan's head. He pressed himself flat, mind racing. He was unarmed, outnumbered, and trapped in a hallway with two men who'd just decided killing him was easier than running. Then, Marcus came through the door like a freight train. He hit Dominic from behind, taking him down hard. The Glock skittered across the wet floor. Dominic twisted, threw an elbow that caught Marcus in the jaw, but Marcus didn't let go. They grappled, both of them, trained, both of them deadly. Wheeler turned his gun toward Marcus. Ryan didn't think. He sprinted across the hallway, closing the distance before Wheeler could adjust his aim. He slammed into the older man, driving him into the wall. The .380 went off, the shot going into the ceiling. Ryan grabbed Wheeler's wrist, twisted hard, felt something pop. Wheeler screamed. The gun dropped. Ryan spun him around, put him face first against the wall, arm twisted behind his back. "Don't move." Wheeler was gasping, crying. "You broke my wrist. You were going to shoot my friend." Behind them, Marcus had Dominic pinned, knee on his back, hands zip-tied behind him. The former head of security was cursing, thrashing, but Marcus had 70 pounds on him and 8 years of experience putting down people who didn't want to stay down. Ryan heard running footsteps. Real security this time, flooding into the corridor. They stopped when they saw the scene. Two men on the ground, Marcus and Ryan standing over them, water still pouring from the sprinklers. "Call the police," Ryan said, "and get Victoria down here." She arrived 3 minutes later, flanked by two bodyguards Ryan had never seen before. Her dress was soaked, mascara running slightly, but her eyes were clear and hard as diamonds. She looked at Dominic on the floor, then at Wheeler against the wall, then at Ryan. "Are you hurt?" she asked. "I'm fine." "Did you get it?" Ryan held up his phone, still recording. Every word. Conspiracy. Intent to commit theft. Threats against your life. It's all here. Victoria walked over to Dominic. She crouched down so she could look him in the eyes. When she spoke, her voice was ice. 8 years, Dominic. I trusted you with my life. With my daughter's life. Dominic spat water. You don't pay me enough to be loyal, Victoria. Nobody does. I paid you $400,000 a year. And you're worth billions. You take the crumbs from your table and act like you're generous. His eyes were full of hate. People like you don't understand. You were born into money. You had every advantage. Some of us had to fight for scraps. So you decided to steal from me, to threaten my family. I decided to take what I deserved. Victoria stood up, turned to Wheeler. And you, my partner, my friend, Sophie's godfather. Wheeler couldn't meet her eyes. It's just business, Vic. Business. Victoria's laugh was hollow. You were going to sell military-grade encryption to the highest bidder. Do you have any idea what that technology could do in the wrong hands? I know it could make us both very rich. Us. Victoria shook her head slowly. There is no us anymore, James. There never was. You were always just waiting for the chance to cash out. Don't act so righteous, Wheeler snapped. You would have done the same if the price was right. No, Victoria said quietly. I wouldn't have. Because some things matter more than money. Police arrived. Real police this time, not mall security or private guards. Detectives who looked at the scene and started asking hard questions. Ryan gave them his phone, gave his statement, stood in the hallway, dripping water while they processed two men who'd gambled everything and lost. By midnight, Wheeler and Dominic were in custody. The charity gala had been evacuated. News vans were gathering outside like vultures. And Ryan was sitting in Victoria's office, wrapped in a towel, drinking coffee that actually tasted expensive. Marcus was there too, ice pack pressed to his jaw where Dominic had connected. Victoria sat behind her desk, staring at nothing. "I can't believe I didn't see it," she said finally. "All this time, Dominic was right there. I trusted him with everything." "He was good at his job," Marcus said. "That's why you trusted him. But the signs were there, the offshore accounts, the meetings he wouldn't explain, the way he always seemed to know things before I told him." Victoria's hands were shaking. "I should have seen it." "You saw what he wanted you to see," Ryan said. "That's how people like him operate. They make you feel safe right up until the moment they stab you in the back." Victoria looked at him. "How did you know? How did you figure it out so fast?" Ryan thought about that. "Because I've been betrayed before. Different situations, same feeling. When someone you trust turns on you, there's a pattern to it. Little things that don't add up. Questions that don't get answered. Dominic was too smooth, too perfect. That's not how real loyalty looks." And Wheeler. Wheeler was easier. He's a gambler. Gamblers always think the next big score will fix everything. He was in debt up to his eyeballs, and your technology was his lottery ticket. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "They mentioned buyers, people who wanted the encryption technology." "The FBI's looking into it," Marcus said. "Sounds like Wheeler had connections to some very dangerous people, foreign governments maybe, corporate espionage networks. So this isn't over." "The immediate threat is," Ryan said. "Wheeler and Dominic are locked up. They're not getting out anytime soon. But whoever they were selling to, those people are still out there." Victoria stood, walked to the window. The city spread out below, lights twinkling like stars. "I need to shut down the project. It's too dangerous. Too many people want it." "Is that what you want?" Ryan asked. "I want my daughter to be safe." "Then beef up security, change your protocols, move the project to a new location. But don't give up on it just because some assholes tried to steal it." Victoria turned. "You think I should continue?" "I think you spent 3 years building something that could change the world. I think giving up means they win even from a jail cell." Ryan set down his coffee. "But I'm not a CEO. I'm just a guy who unloads trucks. So what do I know?" Victoria smiled. It was small, tired, but real. "You know more than you think, Mr. Hayes." "Ryan. Just Ryan." "Ryan, then." Victoria came back to her desk, sat down. "I owe you everything. You saved Sophie twice now. Once with your body, once with your mind. I don't know how to repay that." "You already paid my hospital bills." "That's not enough." "It is for me." Marcus cleared his throat. "If I could make a suggestion." They both looked at him. "Hire him," Marcus said. "Officially. We need to rebuild the security division from the ground up. We need someone who thinks like an enemy, who doesn't trust easy, who sees threats before they develop." He looked at Ryan. "We need you." Ryan started shaking his head. "I'm not qualified." "You just took down a conspiracy that our entire security team missed," Victoria said. "You're more qualified than anyone I know." "I don't have a degree. I don't have certifications. I'm a high school graduate who joined the Marines because I couldn't afford college." "I don't care about degrees," Victoria said firmly. "I care about results. I care about integrity. I care about someone who'll tell me the truth even when it's hard to hear." She leaned forward. "I'm offering you a position, Ryan. Director of Integrated Security. You'd build the department yourself. Hire your own team. Set your own protocols. Full benefit salary that'll let you stop working nights, and a future that's bigger than a warehouse." Ryan's throat went tight. "What's the salary?" Victoria wrote a number on a piece of paper, slid it across the desk. Ryan looked at it, looked at her. That's not real. It's very real. That's more than I make in 3 years. And it's less than you're worth to me. Ryan stared at the number. $150,000 a year. More money than he'd ever imagined having. Enough to move Aiden to a better school. To get out of their cramped apartment. To stop choosing between groceries and electricity. But it also meant stepping into Victoria's world permanently. Leaving behind the invisibility he'd built for himself. Becoming someone people looked at, depended on expected things from. I need to think about it, he said. Take all the time you need. Ryan stood. I should get home. Aiden's with Mrs. Chen, and she charges by the hour. Victoria stood too. Ryan, before you go. Thank you. For everything. He nodded, didn't trust himself to speak, turned to leave. Ryan! Victoria called after him. He stopped at the door. Sarah would be proud of you. Ryan froze. He hadn't mentioned Sarah's name to Victoria. Hadn't talked about his wife at all. Victoria gave him a sad smile. I told you I did my homework. I know what you've been through. I know what you've survived. And I know that walking into danger to protect strangers isn't something everyone can do. It takes a special kind of courage. The kind Sarah saw in you. Ryan's vision blurred. He blinked hard. How do you know what Sarah saw in me? Because I see it too. He left before his voice could break. The cab ride home took 40 minutes. Ryan sat in the back seat watching the city slide past, his mind spinning. Everything had changed in the span of 2 weeks. He'd gone from invisible to unavoidable. From struggling to stable. From alone to connected. And he didn't know if that terrified him or thrilled him. When he got home, Mrs. Chen was asleep on the couch. Aiden was in his bed covers pulled up to his chin, a nightlight glowing in the corner. Ryan paid Mrs. Chen, adding an extra 20 he couldn't really afford, but gave anyway. She smiled and left without asking questions. Ryan sat on the edge of Aiden's bed and watched his son sleep. 8 years old. The same age Ryan had been when his own father walked out. The same age when he'd learned that the world could be cruel and random and unfair. But Aiden didn't know that yet. Aiden still believed in heroes and happy endings and fathers who came home every night. Ryan wasn't going to let him down. He pulled out his phone, typed out a message to Victoria. I accept. When do I start? The reply came back 90 seconds later. Monday. Welcome to Horizon. Ryan set the phone down and looked at his son. In 3 days, everything would change again. New job, new responsibilities, new dangers probably, but also new possibilities. A future that looked different than the one he'd been grinding through for 3 years. He thought about Sarah. About what she'd say if she could see him now. She'd probably laugh at the tuxedo, tell him he looked ridiculous, then kiss him and say she was proud. She always knew he was capable of more than he gave himself credit for. Maybe it was time to believe her. Ryan stood, turned off the nightlight, and walked to his own room. Tomorrow, he'd tell Aiden about the new job. Tomorrow, he'd figure out how to be the kind of person who belonged in Victoria's world. Tomorrow, he'd start building something that looked like a future. But tonight, he was just a father who'd kept his son safe one more day. And sometimes, that was enough. Across the city, in a hotel room that cost more per night than Ryan's monthly rent, a man sat in the darkness and watched footage from the charity gala on a laptop. He'd watched it 17 times now, studying every angle, every movement, every mistake Wheeler and Dominic had made. He closed the laptop and made a phone call. It's done, he said when someone answered. Wheeler and Dominic are in custody. And the technology. The voice on the other end was cold precise. Still secure. Victoria Bennett hasn't moved it yet. Then we proceed to phase 2. What about Hayes? He's more capable than we anticipated. Hayes is a complication, but complications can be managed. A pause. In fact, I think Mr. Hayes might be exactly what we need. A man that close to Victoria that trusted. He could be very useful. You want to flip him. I want to give him a choice. Everyone has a price, even heroes. The man in the hotel room smiled in the darkness. When do we approach him? Soon. Let him get comfortable first. Let him think he's won. The voice on the phone grew quieter. Then we show him what winning really costs. The line went dead. The man closed his laptop and stared out at the city. Down there somewhere, Ryan Hayes was probably sleeping. Probably dreaming about his new life, his new future. He had no idea the real war hadn't even started yet. Ryan's first day at Horizon started with a phone call he wasn't expecting. It was Sunday morning, 24 hours before he was supposed to start. Aiden was eating cereal at their tiny kitchen table still in his pajamas when Ryan's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Mr. Hayes. A woman's voice, professional, clipped. Yeah, who's this? My name is Agent Sarah Chen with the FBI. I need to speak with you about the Wheeler case. Can you meet me in 1 hour? Ryan looked at Aiden, who was watching cartoons and shoveling Cheerios into his mouth. I've got my kid. Bring him. There's a coffee shop on Morrison Street. The Daily Grind. I'll be at the back table. She hung up before Ryan could ask questions. 45 minutes later, Ryan walked into the coffee shop holding Aiden's hand. The place smelled like espresso and cinnamon. Agent Chen was exactly where she said she'd be, a woman in her early 40s, wearing a gray suit and an expression that said she didn't smile much. Mr. Hayes, thank you for coming. She stood, shook his hand. Her grip was firm. And you must be Aiden. Aiden looked up at Ryan. Dad, who's this? A friend? Ryan lied smoothly. Why don't you grab a table over there and get yourself a hot chocolate? I'll be right here. Aiden's eyes lit up. Hot chocolate was a luxury. Ryan gave him a $10 bill and watched him scamper to the counter. Then he sat down across from Agent Chen. What's this about? James Wheeler started talking yesterday, Chen said without preamble. He's trying to cut a deal. Reduced sentence in exchange for information. Information about what? About who he was planning to sell Victoria Bennett's technology to. Chen pulled out a tablet, swiped through some files. Wheeler claims he was approached 6 months ago by a group calling themselves Archon. Ever heard of them? Ryan shook his head. Most people haven't. They're a private intelligence firm. Officially, they consult for governments and corporations. Unofficially, they broker deals for stolen technology, classified information, and anything else that's not supposed to be for sale. Chen's eyes were hard. They're very good at what they do, and they're very dangerous. What do they want with quantum encryption? What does anyone want with unbreakable code power, control, the ability to communicate without anyone listening? Chen leaned forward. Archon has clients in 12 countries. Some of them are allies. Most of them aren't. If they'd gotten Bennett's technology, it would have been in enemy hands within a month. Ryan felt cold. Wheeler knew this. Wheeler didn't care. He was getting $200 million either way. And Dominic? Dominic was working for Archon from the start. He wasn't just stealing information, he was feeding them real-time intelligence on Horizon's security protocols. They knew everything. Where Victoria went, who she trusted, how to get to her. Chen paused. They knew about Sophie. Ryan's hands curled into fists under the table. The shooting at the mall. We think that was them testing your response, seeing how far you'd go. When you took that bullet, you became interesting to them. Interesting how? Chen pulled up a photo on her tablet. A man in his 50s, silver hair, expensive suit, eyes like a shark. This is Marcus Voss. He runs Archon's North American operations. According to Wheeler, Voss has been watching you since the hospital. Why? Because you're exactly what they look for. Military background, combat experience, financial stress, a single father who'd do anything to protect his son. Chen's voice went softer. You're vulnerable, Mr. Hayes, and Voss specializes in exploiting vulnerable people. Ryan thought about the black sedan that had followed him for days, about the surveillance. They're going to come after me. They already are. Wheeler says Voss has a file on you 3 inches thick. Your service record, your financials, every hard choice you've made since Sarah died. Chen slid a business card across the table. If anyone approaches you, anyone you don't know, you call me immediately. Don't engage. Don't listen to offers. Just call. Ryan pocketed the card. What about Victoria? Is she safe? For now. With Wheeler and Dominic in custody, Archons lost their inside access, but they're not going to give up. That technology is worth too much. So what do I do? You be careful, you watch your back, and you trust nobody until we've cleared them. Chen stood. Starting tomorrow, you're going to be in a position of significant access at Horizon. That makes you a target. These people will try to flip you, and if they can't flip you, they'll try to eliminate you. Ryan watched Aiden at the counter laughing at something the barista said. His son, his whole world. I'm not letting anyone hurt my kid. Then you need to be smarter than them. Faster, more careful. Chen's expression softened just slightly. You did good taking down Wheeler, but that was the easy part. The real enemy is still out there. She left. Ryan sat alone at the table, mind racing. He'd thought stopping Wheeler and Dominic meant the danger was over. Instead, he'd apparently just scratched the surface of something much deeper. Aiden came back with 2 hot chocolates, grinning. They gave me extra whipped cream. Ryan forced a smile. That's great, buddy. Dad, are you okay? Yeah, just tired. Aiden sat down, studied his father's face with the unnerving perception kids sometimes have. Is someone bad trying to hurt us? Ryan wanted to lie. Wanted to tell his son everything was fine. But he'd learned a long time ago that kids knew when you were lying. They could smell it. Maybe, he said honestly. But I won't let them. I promise. Aiden thought about that. Then he said, You saved that little girl. You can save us too. The simple faith in those words almost broke Ryan. He reached across the table, squeezed his son's hand. Always Aiden. Always. Monday morning arrived too fast. Ryan dropped Aiden at school, watched him run through the gates toward his friends, then caught 2 buses to Horizon headquarters. He was wearing clothes he'd bought over the weekend. Not expensive, but new, professional. He looked like someone who belonged in a corporate tower, even if he didn't feel like it. Marcus met him in the lobby. Big day. Terrifying day, Ryan corrected. Same thing in my experience. Marcus led him to the elevators. Victoria wants to see you first. After that, I'll show you your office and introduce you to what's left of the security team. What's left? We fired 8 people over the weekend. Anyone Dominic hired, anyone with questionable financials, anyone we couldn't verify completely. Better to be undermanned than compromised. They rode to the 38th floor. Victoria's assistant, a young man with perfect hair and a friendly smile, waved them through. Victoria was on the phone when they entered, but she gestured for them to sit. I don't care what the board says, she was telling whoever was on the other end. We're not moving the project timeline. We're not scaling back security. And we're absolutely not going public with the technology until I say we're ready. A pause. Because I own 51% of this company, Richard, and that means I get final say. Tell the board they can schedule a meeting if they want to discuss it further. She hung up, took a breath, then smiled at Ryan. Welcome to your first day. Sounds like it's going well already. The board thinks I'm being paranoid. They want to accelerate development, start courting buyers, turn the quantum project into profit. Victoria's jaw tightened. They don't understand that the wrong buyer could weaponize that technology. Did you tell them about Archon? Victoria's eyes sharpened. How do you know about Archon? FBI came to see me yesterday. Agent named Sarah Chen. She said Wheeler's talking. And? Ryan told her everything. The intelligence firm, Marcus Voss, the fact that they'd been watching him since the hospital. Victoria's face went pale as he spoke. They have a file on you, she said quietly. 3 inches thick, apparently. Victoria stood pace to the window. This is my fault. I brought you into this. Put a target on your back. I put the target there myself when I jumped in front of that bullet, Ryan said. Nobody forced me. But now you're in danger. Your son's in danger. We've been in danger before. We'll handle it. Victoria turned. How can you be so calm? Because panic doesn't help. Action does. Ryan stood. Chen said they'll try to flip me. If they can't, they'll try to eliminate me. So we don't give them the chance to do either. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we stop playing defense. We know who they are. We know what they want. Let's use that. Marcus leaned forward. You want to bait them? I want to make them think I'm baitable. Make them believe I'm exactly what they're looking for. Desperate, struggling, willing to compromise if the price is right. Victoria shook her head. That's too dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous. But if we can draw them out, get them to make an offer, we can record it. Turn it over to the FBI. Take them down the same way we took down Wheeler. And if they don't make an offer, if they just try to kill you, then I'll already be ready. Victoria looked at Marcus. Some silent conversation passed between them. Finally, Marcus nodded. It could work, he said. But Hayes would need backup, constant surveillance, an exit strategy. I can arrange that, Victoria said. But Ryan, if this goes wrong? If this goes wrong, I'm dead either way. At least this way I'm fighting back. Victoria studied him for a long moment. Then she walked to her desk, pulled out a folder, handed it to him. This is your official personnel file. Director of Integrated Security. Salary, benefits, company car, everything we discussed. It's all real. Ryan opened the folder, saw his name on official Horizon letterhead. Saw the salary figure that still didn't feel real. Saw his own photo taken over the weekend looking uncomfortable in a button-down shirt. But there's something else, Victoria continued. She pulled out a second folder. This one was thinner, unmarked. This is your real job. Ryan opened it. Inside were surveillance photos of people he didn't recognize. Names, addresses, financial records. These are the people Wheeler was in contact with before his arrest, Victoria said. Some of them are just business associates, but some of them are connected to Archon. We don't know which is which yet. You want me to find out? I want you to infiltrate them, make contact, see who takes the bait. Ryan looked through the photos. Lawyers, bankers, technology brokers, people who looked respectable and probably weren't. This is going to take time. We have time. Archon thinks they're still in the shadows. They don't know we know about them. That's our advantage. Marcus stood. I'll set up the surveillance protocols, get you wired. Make sure we can track your location 24/7. What about Aiden? Ryan asked. If I'm doing this, he can't be exposed. Already handled, Victoria said. I've arranged for private security at his school, vetted personally by me. And I'm hiring Mrs. Chen full-time as your live in childcare. She'll be paid through Horizon. Aiden stays safe. Ryan felt something loosen in his chest. You'd do that. You're risking your life for my company, for my daughter. The least I can do is protect your son. They spent the next 3 hours going over details. Marcus showed Ryan his new office, a space with actual windows and furniture that didn't look like it came from a liquidation sale. The security team came in one by one. 6 people total. 4 men, 2 women. All of them former military or law enforcement. All of them looking at Ryan like they weren't sure what to make of him. This is Ryan Hayes, Marcus introduced him. He's your new director. What he says goes. Anyone have a problem with that? Silence. But Ryan could see the skepticism in their eyes. He was young, inexperienced in corporate security, an outsider. I know what you're thinking, Ryan said. You're wondering why Victoria hired some random warehouse worker to run security after what happened with Dominic. You're wondering if I know what I'm doing. You're wondering if I'm going to get you all killed. A few uncomfortable shifts. Nobody contradicted him. Here's the truth. I don't know everything. I've never run a security division. I've never worked in corporate anything. But I've cleared houses in Fallujah. I've identified threats under pressure. And I've already taken down 2 people who were supposed to be untouchable. Ryan's voice went harder. I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to keep Victoria Bennett and her daughter alive. If you can help me do that, we'll get along fine. If you can't, there's the door. One of the women, late 30s, with a scar across her eyebrow, smiled slightly. I like him. That's Garcia, Marcus said. Former LAPD SWAT. She's our tactical lead. Garcia nodded at Ryan. Welcome to the circus. Over the next 2 weeks, Ryan settled into his new life. He learned the systems, studied the protocols, met with Victoria daily to review security updates, started building relationships with his team, and slowly, carefully, he began making contact with the names in the unmarked folder. The first approach was subtle. A networking event downtown. Ryan introduced himself to a man named Peter Klein, a technology broker who'd had 3 phone calls with Wheeler in the month before his arrest. They talked about nothing important. Weather, sports, the future of encryption technology. Klein gave Ryan his card. If you ever want to discuss business opportunities outside Horizon, give me a call. Ryan pocketed the card, smiled. I might do that. The second contact was more direct. A woman named Sandra Marquez, a corporate lawyer with connections to offshore accounts in 12 countries. She invited Ryan to lunch, asked him questions that seemed casual, but weren't. You've had quite a rise, she said, over expensive sushi. Ryan still wasn't comfortable eating. Warehouse to director in 2 weeks, that's impressive. I got lucky. Luck is just opportunity meeting preparation. You must have been very prepared. I was a Marine. We're always prepared. Sandra smiled. And now you have access to one of the most valuable technologies in development. That must be interesting. It's a job. But is it the right job? Sometimes opportunities exist outside traditional employment structures. Ryan met her eyes. What kind of opportunities? The kind that pay better than any salary. He let the silence stretch. Then he said, I'm listening. Sandra leaned back. Not here, not yet, but soon. When the time is right, someone will reach out to you. Someone who can offer you things Victoria Bennett never could. Like what? Freedom, security, a future where you don't have to worry about your son's college fund or medical bills or any of the 1,000 small anxieties that keep people like us awake at night. She paused. All you'd have to do is share information. Nothing that would hurt anyone, just data. Ryan felt his pulse quicken. This was it. The approach Agent Chen had warned him about. How much data? Enough to be valuable, not enough to be missed. And the payment? $5 million, deposited in an account of your choosing, untraceable. Ryan pretended to think about it. Let doubt cross his face. Let greed show in his eyes. I'd need guarantees, protection. If Victoria found out, Victoria will never know. These people are professionals. They've done this 100 times. Sandra stood. Think about it. When you're ready, call me. She left. Ryan sat alone at the table, mind racing. He waited 5 minutes, then walked outside and called Marcus. They made contact, he said quietly. Sandra Marquez. She's definitely connected to Archon. Did she mention Voss? No, but she said someone would reach out when the time was right. We need to be ready. I'll brief Victoria and coordinate with the FBI. Ryan hung up and started walking back to Horizon. He'd taken 3 steps when a black car pulled up beside him. The window rolled down. "Mr. Hayes, get in." Ryan looked into the car. The man behind the wheel was in his 50s, silver hair, expensive suit, eyes like a shark. Marcus Voss. "I don't get into cars with strangers," Ryan said. Voss smiled. "I'm not a stranger. I'm the person who's been watching you for 3 weeks. I'm the person who knows you took your son to the aquarium last Saturday. I'm the person who knows you can't afford the medical bills from your wife's cancer treatment. I'm the person who can make all your problems disappear." He gestured to the empty seat. "Now get in." Ryan's hand went to his phone. "Your phone won't help you," Voss said calmly. "Neither will Marcus or Victoria or the FBI. This is between you and me. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Ryan knew he should walk away, should call for backup, should follow every protocol they'd established. Instead, he got in the car. Voss pulled away from the curb smoothly. They drove in silence for 30 seconds. Then Voss spoke. "I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you're recording this conversation. You're thinking you'll turn me into the authorities. You're thinking you're about to be a hero again. And you're wrong, because I have something you don't." Voss pulled out a tablet, handed it to Ryan. Ryan looked at the screen. His heart stopped. It was surveillance footage of Aiden, coming out of school, playing on the playground, getting into Mrs. Chen's car. Time stamped from that morning, 4 hours ago. "Touch my son and I'll kill you," Ryan said quietly. "I don't want to touch your son. I want to give him a future, the best schools, the best opportunities, everything Sarah wanted for him before she died." Voss's voice was smooth, reasonable. "All you have to do is give me access to Victoria's quantum project. 1 file, 1 transfer, that's it. And if I say no, then I make 1 phone call and Aiden disappears. He'll turn up eventually, months from now, traumatized, broken, changed forever. Is that what Sarah would want?" Ryan's hands were shaking. Every instinct screamed at him to attack, to grab the wheel, to do something. But Voss was calm. Too calm. This wasn't a bluff. "How do I know you won't hurt him anyway?" "Because I'm a businessman, not a monster. You give me what I want, I leave you alone. Simple transaction." Ryan stared at the footage of his son. "I need time to think. You have 24 hours. After that, the offer expires. And so does Aiden's safety." Voss pulled over. They were 2 blocks from Horizon. "Get out." Ryan got out. The car drove away. He stood on the sidewalk, shaking, rage and fear warring inside him. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. 24 hours. Choose wisely." Ryan looked up at the Horizon building. Thought about Victoria. About Sophie. About the technology that could save lives or end them depending on who controlled it. Then he thought about Aiden. About his son's laugh. His trust. His belief that his father could save him from anything. Ryan had 24 hours to decide between saving the world and saving his son. For the first time in 3 years, he had absolutely no idea what to do. Ryan made it to his office before his legs gave out. He collapsed into the chair, hands still shaking. The image of Aiden on that tablet burned into his mind. His son. His whole world. Being watched. Tracked. Targeted by people who could make him disappear with a single phone call. The door opened. Marcus walked in, took one look at Ryan's face, and locked the door behind him. What happened? Ryan couldn't speak for a moment. Finally he managed, "Voss. He was waiting for me outside. Showed me surveillance of Aiden from this morning." Marcus's expression went dark. "Where's your son now?" "School, with Mrs. Chen. But Voss knows everything. Where he goes, when, how." Ryan's voice cracked. He gave me 24 hours to hand over the quantum encryption or Aiden disappears. We need to move your son, right now. Safe house. Federal protection. Voss said if I involve anyone, the deal's off. If I make any move, he doesn't expect Aiden's gone. Marcus pulled out his phone. I'm calling Victoria. No. Ryan stood. Not yet. I need to think. There's nothing to think about. We protect your son and we take down Voss. How he's got people watching Aiden right now. We move him, they know. We bring in the FBI, they know. We do anything except what Voss wants, and my kid pays for it. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, So what are you going to do? Ryan looked out the window at the city below. All those people living their lives completely unaware that decisions made in rooms like this could change everything. I'm going to give Voss what he wants. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. I'm going to walk into that quantum lab, copy the encryption files, and hand them over to a man who'll sell them to the highest bidder. And then I'm going to take my son and disappear before anyone realizes what I've done. That's not you talking. That's fear. Damn right it's fear. Aiden is 8 years old. He's already lost his mother. I'm not letting him lose everything else because I wanted to be a hero. Marcus moved closer. Listen to me. If you give Voss that technology, thousands of people could die. Governments will fall. Wars will start. You'll save one child and condemn countless others. I don't care about countless others. I care about my son. Your son who thinks his father is a hero, who believes you saved that little girl because it was the right thing to do. What happens when he finds out you betrayed everything to save him, when he learns the cost of his safety? Ryan's hands curled into fists. He'll be alive to learn it. And you'll have to live with what you've done, every day, for the rest of your life. Sarah would. Don't. Ryan's voice went cold. Don't you dare tell me what Sarah would think. She's not here. She doesn't get a vote. Aiden does. The door opened. Victoria stood there, face pale. How much did you hear? Marcus asked. Enough. She walked into the office, closed the door. Voss contacted you. Ryan nodded. And he threatened Aiden. Another nod. Victoria sat down slowly. What did you tell him? Nothing yet. I have until tomorrow. And then I give him what he wants, or I watch my son disappear. Ryan's voice was flat, empty. Some choice. Victoria was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was soft. I have a daughter too. If someone threatened Sophie, if someone showed me footage of her and told me I had to choose between her and anything else in the world, I'd choose her. Every time. Without hesitation. So you understand. I understand. But I also understand that Voss won't stop with you. Once he has the technology, he'll come after me next. After Sophie. After everyone who knows what he's done. He's not offering you a trade, Ryan. He's offering you a temporary reprieve before he kills both of you anyway. Ryan looked at her. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because men like Voss don't leave witnesses. He's already killed the shooter from the mall. He'll kill you and Aiden the moment you're no longer useful. She's right, Marcus said quietly. This doesn't end with a file transfer. It ends with you and your son in the river next to that gunman. Ryan stood, paced to the window. His mind was racing, trying to find an angle, a way out, something that didn't end with everyone he loved dead or destroyed. But every path led to the same conclusion. Someone he cared about was going to get hurt. There's another option, Victoria said. What? We give Voss fake files. Encryption data that looks real, but isn't. Buy ourselves time to get Aiden to safety and coordinate with the FBI. He'll verify the files before he releases Aiden. Then we make them good enough to pass initial verification. My chief technology officer can create a convincing forgery, something that'll take days to prove is fake. Ryan turned. Days might not be enough. The second Voss realizes he's been tricked, he comes after all of us. But by then, Aiden will be in federal protection. You'll be surrounded by FBI agents. Voss will have exposed himself trying to verify the files. We'll have everything we need to take him down. Marcus nodded slowly. It could work. It's risky, but it could work. Ryan wanted to believe it. Wanted to believe there was a way to save everyone, but he'd seen too much loss, too much to trust in plans that sounded good on paper. What if it doesn't work? He asked. What if Voss figures it out before we move Aiden? What if his people grab my son during the transfer? Then we make sure they can't, Victoria said firmly. We move Aiden tonight, quietly. No obvious security. Mrs. Chen takes him to visit family upstate, just a normal trip. Meanwhile, we put a decoy in your apartment, someone who looks like Aiden from a distance. Keep Voss's surveillance team watching the wrong target. You're asking me to trust a lot of moving parts. I'm asking you to trust me. The way I trusted you when you said you could take down Wheeler. The way I trust you every day with my daughter's life. Ryan met her eyes, saw the same desperate fear he felt reflected back at him. 2 parents, 2 children, both of them trying to protect what mattered most. Okay, he said finally. We do it your way. But if anything goes wrong, if Aiden gets hurt because of this plan, I'm done. With Horizon. With all of it. Understood. Victoria pulled out her phone. I'll call Dr. Reeves. Have him start building the fake encryption files. Marcus coordinate with Agent Chen. Get federal protection in place. What do I do? Ryan asked. You go home. Act normal. Tuck your son into bed. And tomorrow morning, you make the call to Voss that sells him on the idea you're ready to betray everything. Ryan left Horizon an hour later. The sun was setting, painting the city in shades of orange and red. He caught the bus home, sat in the back, watched the world slide past. Normal people living normal lives. Nobody looking at him twice. When he got to his apartment, Aiden was doing homework at the kitchen table. Mrs. Chen was making dinner. The smell of garlic and onions filled the small space. Dad! Aiden jumped up, ran over. Guess what, I got an A on my science test. Ryan hugged his son tight, maybe too tight. That's amazing, buddy. I'm so proud of you. Mrs. Chen said we can have ice cream after dinner. Sounds perfect. They ate together, talked about school, about Aiden's friends, about a field trip coming up next month to the Science Museum. Normal conversation, normal life. Ryan tried to memorize every second of it. After dinner, after ice cream, Ryan tucked Aiden into bed. His son was getting too big for bedtime stories, but Ryan read one anyway, a book about a knight who saved a kingdom. Aiden fell asleep halfway through, mouth slightly open, stuffed bear tucked under his arm. Ryan sat there for a long time watching him breathe. This small person who depended on him for everything, who trusted him completely, who had no idea his father was about to gamble with both their lives. I won't let anything happen to you, Ryan whispered. I promise. He walked into the living room. Mrs. Chen was cleaning up the kitchen. Mrs. Chen, I need to ask you something. She looked up. What is it, Mr. Ryan? How do you feel about taking a trip, you and Aiden, just for a few days? Visit some family, get out of the city. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Is there danger? Ryan had learned that lying to Mrs. Chen was impossible. She had a grandmother's instinct for deception. Yes. For Aiden. Maybe. I'm trying to prevent it. She dried her hands on a towel. When do we leave? Tomorrow morning. Early. Before he wakes up for school. I will pack tonight. She moved toward the door to her room, then stopped. Mr. Ryan, you are a good father. Whatever you must do to protect that boy, you do it. Do not let anyone make you feel guilty for it. Even if people get hurt. Even then, a father's first duty is to his child. Everything else is secondary. She left. Ryan sat alone in the quiet apartment, her words echoing in his head. A father's first duty is to his child. He pulled out his phone, stared at the unknown number Voss had texted from. His thumb hovered over the call button. Then he put the phone down and called Victoria instead. "Is everything in place?" he asked when she answered. "Dr. Reeves is working on the files now. He says they'll be ready by morning. Agent Chen has a safe house prepared upstate. Federal marshals will escort Mrs. Chen and Aiden. Marcus is coordinating with local police to create a security perimeter around your building without making it obvious. And the decoy, a junior agent, 22 years old, small build, with a hood, and from a distance he'll pass for Aiden. He'll maintain your normal routine. Take the bus to school, come home. Keep Voss's surveillance team focused on the wrong target." Ryan closed his eyes. This is insane. It's the only way. What if I just run? Take Aiden and disappear tonight. Change our names. Start over somewhere Voss can't find us. He'll find you. Men like him always do. And when he does, you won't have any protection. No FBI, no resources. Just you and a scared child against a network that spans 12 countries. She was right. Ryan knew she was right. But knowing it didn't make the fear any easier. "I need you to do something for me," Ryan said. "What? If this goes wrong, if I don't make it, I need you to make sure Aiden's taken care of. Not just financially. I need you to make sure he knows I loved him, that everything I did was for him." Victoria's voice was thick when she answered. "You're going to make it, Ryan. You're going to see your son again. Promise me anyway." "I promise, but you have to promise me something too." "What?" "You promise me you won't do anything stupid. No heroics. No sacrificing yourself because you think it'll save everyone else. You follow the plan. You stay safe. You come home to Aiden." "I'll try." "That's not good enough. It's all I've got." They hung up. Ryan sat in the darkness, listening to the sounds of the city through his thin walls. Cars passing. Sirens in the distance. Someone arguing in the apartment above. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Everything's ready. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be hell." Ryan tried. He lay in bed, stared at the ceiling, and tried to sleep. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw Voss's face, heard his voice, saw the footage of Aiden playing on that tablet. At 3 in the morning, he gave up, got out of bed, checked on Aiden one more time. His son was still sleeping peaceful, unaware. Ryan packed a bag for him, clothes, toiletries, the stuffed bear. A framed photo of Sarah that usually sat on Aiden's nightstand. Everything a kid might need for a few days away. At 5:30, Mrs. Chen emerged from her room bag already packed. "I am ready. The car will be here in 10 minutes. Federal agents. They'll get you to the safe house. And you? I'll be fine." She looked at him with those knowing eyes. "You are lying. But I understand why." She moved to Aiden's room, gently woke him. "Come, little one. We are going on an adventure." Aiden was groggy, confused. "Dad, what's happening?" Ryan knelt beside the bed. "Remember how Mrs. Chen told you about her family upstate, the ones with the big farm and the horses?" Aiden nodded sleepily. "You're going to visit them for a few days. Won't that be fun?" "Are you coming?" "Not this time, buddy. I have to work, but I'll call you every night before bed, and I'll come get you as soon as I can." "I don't want to go without you." Ryan's throat tightened. "I know. But sometimes we have to do things that are hard. That's what being brave means. Like when you saved that little girl. Exactly like that." Aiden thought about it. Then he hugged Ryan tight. "Okay. But you have to promise you'll be okay." "I promise." It was a lie. But it was the kindest lie Ryan had ever told. The car arrived. 2 federal agents, professional and quiet. They helped Mrs. Chen load the bags. Aiden climbed in, still half asleep. He waved at Ryan through the window. Ryan waved back and watched the car disappear down the street. Then he went inside, sat at his kitchen table, and called Voss. "I was wondering if you'd call," Voss answered on the second ring. "I'll do it. I'll get you the encryption files." "Smart choice. But I have conditions." Voss laughed. You're not in a position to negotiate. I am if you want the real files. I can give you corrupted data, partial algorithms, useless code that'll take you weeks to realize is fake. Or I can give you everything. Complete, verified, ready to use. Your choice. Silence. Then Voss said, What do you want? I want proof Aiden's safe before I hand anything over. I want to see him, talk to him, know he's okay. That can be arranged. And I want money. 10 million. Not 5. If I'm betraying everything I want enough to disappear and never be found. 10 million is acceptable. And I want it in an account I control before the transfer happens. You don't trust me. Would you? Voss laughed again. Fair enough. I'll have the money ready by this evening. You'll have the encryption files by when? Tonight, midnight. I'll need time to access the quantum lab without raising suspicion. Where? Riverside Park, south entrance. Come alone or the deal's off. I don't take orders from you. Then I guess we're done. Good luck finding another inside source. Ryan let the silence stretch. Your choice, Voss. Another pause. Midnight, south entrance. I'll be there. The line went dead. Ryan sat there for a long moment, phone in his hand, heart pounding. Then he called Victoria. It's done. He took the bait. How are you feeling? Terrified. You? The same. But Ryan? We're going to end this tonight. All of it. I hope you're right. I am. Now go to work, act normal. Let Voss think everything is going according to plan. Ryan went to Horizon, sat through meetings, reviewed security protocols, acted like his entire world wasn't balanced on a knife's edge. His team noticed something was off, but nobody asked questions. Garcia gave him a long look once, but just nodded and went back to work. At 6 o'clock, Dr. Reeves appeared in Ryan's office with a flash drive. This is it, he said. The fake encryption files. They'll pass any standard verification test. But the moment someone tries to actually use them, the whole system will crash. By the time they realize it's corrupted, you'll be long gone. Ryan took the drive. How long until they figure it out? 12 hours, maybe 24 if they're not paying attention. That'll have to be enough. Reeves left. Ryan sat alone in his office, holding the flash drive that would either save everyone or destroy them all. At 11:30, he left Horizon and drove to Riverside Park. The night was cold, cloudless, stars visible despite the city lights. Ryan parked 3 blocks away and walked the rest of the distance. Marcus's voice crackled in his earpiece. We have eyes on you. FBI is in position. Surveillance teams covering all exits. The moment Voss shows himself, we move. What if he doesn't come alone? Then we adjust. But Hayes, don't be a hero. You make the exchange, you walk away, you let us handle the rest. Understood. Ryan reached the south entrance at 11:55. The park was empty, just shadows and streetlights and the sound of the river flowing past. At exactly midnight, a car pulled up. Black, expensive. Voss stepped out alone. Mr. Hayes, punctual, I appreciate that. Where's the money? Voss held up his phone. 10 million, transferred to the account you specified. Check it yourself. Ryan pulled out his phone, verified the transfer. The money was there. Real. Untraceable. And Aiden? Voss made a call, put it on speaker. A voice answered. Yeah. Status on the boy. Safe. At the location you specified. Unharmed. Ryan's blood went cold. What location? Aiden's supposed to be upstate. Voss smiled. Did you really think I wouldn't verify his whereabouts? Did you really think I'd trust you to keep him where you said he'd be? He ended the call. I've had eyes on your son since 6 this morning. Watched him get into that federal car. Watched them drive upstate. Followed them to their safe house. And then I made sure my people were there first. You're lying. Am I? Call Mrs. Chen. See if she answers. Ryan's hands were shaking. He dialed Mrs. Chen's number. It rang once. Twice. Then someone answered. but it wasn't Mrs. Chen. "Dad," Aiden's voice, small, scared. "Aiden, are you okay?" "Dad, there are men here. They have guns. They said you have to do what they say, or they'll hurt Mrs. Chen." Ryan's world tilted. "Don't worry, buddy. Everything's going to be okay. Just do what they tell you. I'll fix this." The line went dead. Ryan looked at Voss. "You son of a—" "The flash drive," Voss said calmly. "Now." Ryan's mind was racing. The plan had failed. Voss had anticipated everything. Had people inside the FBI maybe, or just better intelligence. It didn't matter. All that mattered was Aiden was in danger, and Ryan had seconds to decide what to do. He pulled out the flash drive with the fake files, and then he heard Victoria's voice in his earpiece. "Ryan, listen to me very carefully. Aiden's safe. He's with Agent Chen at a different location. Voss is bluffing. That wasn't your son on the phone. It was a recording. They sampled his voice from the school surveillance footage." Ryan froze. "The safe house Voss found was a decoy." Victoria continued. "We expected him to track it. Aiden's somewhere else entirely, with real protection. Trust me." Ryan looked at Voss, at the man who'd orchestrated all of this, who'd threatened children, who'd killed to get what he wanted. "You know what?" Ryan said quietly. "I don't think I'm going to give you this drive after all." Voss's expression didn't change. "Then your son dies." "See, that's where you messed up. You played the same card twice, threatened Aiden again. Made me think you had him." Ryan smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "But I know my kid. I know how he talks, how he sounds when he's scared, and that wasn't him on the phone." Voss's hand went to his jacket. "I wouldn't," Ryan said. FBI agents emerged from the shadows. 12 of them, surrounding Voss from every direction. Agent Chen stepped forward, weapon drawn. "Marcus Voss, you're under arrest for conspiracy, extortion, attempted kidnapping, and about 6 other federal charges I'll enjoy reading to you." Voss didn't move, just stared at Ryan. "You were willing to give me the files. I saw it in your eyes. You were ready to betray everything for your son." "Yeah," Ryan said. "I was. But then I remembered something a friend told me. Sometimes you have to trust people, even when it's terrifying, even when every instinct says run." He handed the flash drive to Agent Chen. "Fake files. But you probably figured that out already." Voss smiled as they cuffed him. "This isn't over." "Yeah," Ryan said. "It really is." They took Voss away. The park emptied. Ryan stood there alone, adrenaline still singing through his veins. His phone rang. "Victoria. Aiden's safe. He's asking for you. Mrs. Chen says he wants his father." Ryan closed his eyes. "Where is he?" 20 miles north. I'll have Marcus drive you." "Thank you. For everything. Thank you for trusting me." 40 minutes later, Ryan walked into a safe house that looked like a normal cabin in the woods. Aiden was sitting at a table eating cookies, Mrs. Chen beside him. When he saw his father, he jumped up and ran. Ryan caught him, held him tight, felt his son's heartbeat against his chest. "I knew you'd come," Aiden said. "Always, buddy. Always." 2 weeks later, Ryan sat in Victoria's office again. But this time, Sophie was there too, playing with dolls in the corner. Happy. Safe. "Wheeler and Dominic both took plea deals," Victoria said. 20 years for Wheeler. 30 for Dominic. Voss is looking at life without parole. And Archon. The FBI dismantled their North American operations, arrested 43 people, seized assets in 6 countries. It'll take years to fully clean it up, but the threat's contained. Ryan nodded. "Good. There's something else." Victoria pulled out an envelope. "The board voted, unanimously, to give you a bonus. For everything you did. For saving this company. For saving my daughter. Again." Ryan opened the envelope, saw a check that made his eyes go wide. I can't accept this. You can. You will. Consider it hazard pay. Victoria smiled. And college fund for Aiden. Victoria. Sophie wants to have a play date with Aiden. She's been asking about him non-stop. Apparently he's a hero too now. Ryan looked at Sophie in the corner, at this little girl he'd saved twice, at Victoria, who'd trusted him when nobody else would, at the life he'd built from nothing. Yeah, he said. I think that'd be okay. Sophie looked up, saw Ryan, ran over and hugged him. Thank you for saving my mommy, she said. Ryan's eyes stung. Anytime, kid. 3 months later, Ryan stood in his new apartment. 2 bedrooms, real furniture, a neighborhood where car alarms didn't go off every night. Aiden was unpacking his room, chattering about his new school, his new friends, the science club he'd joined. Mrs. Chen was making dinner, something that smelled amazing. Ryan's phone buzzed. A text from Garcia. Team meeting tomorrow. Don't be late, boss. Another text, from Victoria. Sophie's asking if Aiden can come to her birthday party next week. Please say yes. She'll never forgive me if he doesn't. Ryan smiled, texted back. He'd love to. He walked to Aiden's room, leaned against the doorframe. His son was arranging his books, the stuffed bear sitting on the bed, the photo of Sarah on the nightstand. You okay, Dad? Yeah, buddy, I'm okay. Do you miss the old apartment? Not even a little bit. Aiden grinned. Me neither. This place is way better. Ryan thought about everything that had brought them here. The bullet, the blood, the fear, the choices that kept him awake at night. The moment he'd almost given up everything to save one person. He thought about Victoria's words, about trust, about doing the right thing even when it cost you everything. He thought about Sarah, about whether she'd be proud of who he'd become. And looking at his son happy and safe and thriving, Ryan decided she would be. Hey, Aiden. Yeah. You know I love you, right? I know, Dad. I love you too. Good. Don't forget it. Aiden went back to unpacking. Ryan stood there a moment longer, then walked to the kitchen where Mrs. Chen was stirring something that smelled like home. The invisible man had stepped into the light, and for the first time in 3 years, the light didn't hurt. It felt like exactly where he belonged.